So, hi, I'm Sharon Parks, and I am the director of the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, which is also known as UROP.
And I'm Jerry McMillian. I am a UROP Advisor. So traditionally, the symposium is an annual event where undergraduate researchers are presenting the research they've done in the previous year. Uh, this year, we had about 700 plus individual student projects with almost 1,000 individual students involved. And uh, so the whole process of registering them for presentations, assigning, all of that stuff is a management, I won't go with nightmare, but it's a complicated, very detailed process.
And I'll just throw in that we had about 1,300 people register to attend the conference or the symposium, I should say, outside of the presenters. So we didn't track exactly how many people were there, but roughly 2,000 people or so at the event. Actually, the initial reason was for our calls for proposals. So we had an older, homegrown application management system that our tech support team at UCI could no longer support. UROP used to have an in-house programmer that created all of this, who is no longer here. And tech support said, we can't support this.
The other system was brilliantly designed in 2003, which meant it was built for specific needs. It was utterly personalized, customized for what we did. And in that regard, it was perfect. It was also built in 2003, which meant things have changed. We also had a change in personnel in our department. And because this was custom built for us, some of the knowledge of how to use it was no longer around. So not only didn't we have people to support it, we weren't even sure about how to use all of the features. So while it was amazing when it started, it had definitely was reaching the end of its usable shelf life. And so, as Sharon alluded, we were in the phase of either trying to rebuild the whole thing from scratch, which would have been incredibly difficult, or find an existing platform onto which to try to build some or most of the functionality we'd gotten used to using over the years.
So our tech support, Jeremy, who we worked with to vet the products, I trust his judgment immensely. He's fantastic. And so I think because our colleagues in the Office of Research were using this, and from what he looked at, he really made his assessments and made this recommendation. And quite frankly, it was, we were under a lot of pressure to make a change, and he recommended it. We absolutely needed to have an application management system for our proposals. And so because we had to shift away from this 20 plus now year system, at the time it was 17 or 18 years old, we needed to have something in place in order to run our calls for proposals, which are 3 times a year. So we have a fall call, a spring call, a summer call. I guess the spring and summer are at the same time of year, but they're 3 separate kind of application processes, and we couldn't run those without something like InfoReady in place. So I'm glad that it worked out such that it was pretty seamless once we, there was some growing pains in terms of getting everything built and learning a new product and learning how to use it. But once we had that in place, it allowed us to do a process that is central to our functioning. I mean, that's one of the main things we do. And then regarding our symposium event, it just really allowed us to put the icing on the cake. Like, we could still have the symposium without Engagement Hub, but to be able to display all of the abstracts and profile pictures of all the students doing the projects, and then their digital poster and their videos of their presentations, and to have all of that added content that we've never had before has been great for promoting the event and for students to be able to show their parents and their friends and put on their CVs or resumes. That's really value added to that event. And then one of the pieces that we've just barely started to use Engagement Hub for, and I can see this is an area of expansion for even for us, but other people could use it as well, is really using it as a showcase of all different types of undergraduate student research and opportunities. So for instance, we've got, predominantly it's symposium related things that we have on there now, but we do have what you call carousels, where we highlight research opportunities. So when we've got faculty who contact us saying we're looking for undergraduate students to work in our lab, we do have a few tiles with opportunities, with the information about how do you find this research opportunity, how do you apply, here's their website, their contact information. And we also at UCI have something called Handshake, which will list out all of the on-campus work opportunities and potentially research opportunities. And so we really want to, I think we do already link to them, but there's a lot more that we could do with it to highlight opportunities and to help connect students, and then to also help highlight and showcase what students are doing, such that we can show this to our corporate partners and have them see and want to engage with us and want to potentially hire our students. And so that's a piece where we haven't had the bandwidth to really expand on, but there's a lot of potential there for using Engagement Hub in those kinds of ways. I even remember being early on when we were learning, when we were working with the other Sarah, it was wonderful to be able to bounce ideas off of her and to really have her collaborate with me on how to develop the product, and here's what we want to do, here's the intended outcome, what is the best way to get there. And she would give me ideas, and you could do this or this, I would recommend this, but and we would, again, she was just such a great collaborator that I wasn't completely left on my own to figure it all out, and I could use her expertise in deciding which way to move forward on certain aspects. And so that was super invaluable.
I guess one other thing I'd like to sort of dovetail on what Sharon's talked about. We've talked about how great the customer service has been in the short term, and the fact that when things break, as they inevitably do when things are this big, your folks have been amazing at helping us unbreak them. But the other thing we haven't talked about is we've been using InfoReady long enough now that we share our wish lists. And gee, this would be really good, but if you could just add something like that. And obviously something like that is not going to be built next week. But we do feel like our requests, our suggestions, our recommendations are definitely heard. And so, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll put that on our wish list to start building in 6 months. So we've been able to watch InfoReady grow, and we definitely feel like some of the things we've raised have been heard and, even if not included, have been considered. And so in many ways, it's a lot easier for us to use now than it was 2 years ago when we started using it, because we've been part of that design process. And that's been a really good part of the relationship.